I've worked at WLK7 for 12 years, and until last spring, the strangest thing that ever happened on my shift was a raccoon chewing through our transmitter cable. We're a small town station, the kind people leave on in their garages and diners out of habit, not loyalty. I keep the equipment alive, keep the tower humming, and once in a while crawl into tight spaces to fix something no one else understands. I used to think of radio waves as invisible threads tying the town together. I still do. The problem is, something else found those threads and followed them back. It started as interference. I was in the control room around 11 p.m, half listening to the overnight host spin classic rock while I retuned one of the backup transmitters. Outside, the lake was a flat, dark mirror at the edge of town, soaking up moonlight and secrets. Then the music cut out, not to static, to pattern. 3 tones, a brief pause, 5 tones, another pause. Then a long, low note that vibrated in my teeth. The host tapped the mic. Folks, looks like we're getting some kind of signal bleed here. Sorry about that. We'll get it sorted. I frowned. There was nothing scheduled. No test, no emergency broadcast. Our monitors showed no incoming feeds on any of the usual lines. I patched the raw signal to a recorder, hit play, and listened again. 3 tones. Pause. 5. Pause. Long hum. It felt deliberate, like someone knocking on a door in a sequence just slightly too complex to be random. At first, we treated it like a technical glitch. I checked the relays, the tower output, the emergency alert system. All clean. The signal didn't match any known station. It wasn't interference from nearby cities. It wasn't an airplane beacon or a satellite. The only consistent thing was this. Every time it appeared, our signal strength from the lake direction spiked. Radio waves bounce, echo, scatter. You get used to thinking in reflections. Except this didn't feel like a reflection. It felt like a reply. By the 3rd night, other stations in nearby towns were mentioning it too. A fisherman called in to say he heard it on his boat's radio whenever he drifted near the center of the lake. Sounds like it's coming from under us, he said, like the waters singing. We laughed nervously on air. Off air, we didn't. They sent divers, of course. The county sheriff didn't like the idea of unidentified signals coming from his lake. A small team went out. 2 local divers and 1 specialist from the state, along with a research boat packed with gear. I was invited to sit in, to monitor frequencies and record anything unusual. The day was bright, lazy, warm. Kids jumped off docks on the far side. The town's water tower watched over us like a dopey metal guardian. On the boat, everything felt clinical. Coiled cables, metal cases, the steady chatter of professionals who'd done this 100 times. We'll sweep the bottom grid by grid, the specialist said. Maybe it's a downed transmitter or some kind of resonance in the rock. There's always a physical explanation. I wanted to believe that. We dropped a hydrophone into the water. For a while, all we got was the usual murk. Boat engines, distant fish, the soft churn of waves. Then it came. 3 tones, pause. 5 tones, pause. Long, low hum, but underwater it was different, stronger, clearer, like a voice hearing its own echo and speaking louder. The specialist brightened. Could be geological, some kind of cavitation in the rock formations, maybe a natural harmonic. Rocks don't count prime numbers, I muttered. He pretended not to hear. The divers went down. We watched their depth on the monitors little green numbers ticking away. 20 feet, 30, 40. The hydrophone picked up their breathing, their occasional check-ins. Visibility's low, one said. Silt everywhere. Bottom feels uneven, said the other. Cavities, maybe. The signal sounded again, louder, so loud the speakers crackled. 3, 5, hum. Except this time, something changed. Between the notes, there were textures. Not static, not noise. More like whispers crushed into a frequency just outside understanding. I leaned closer to the speaker. For a second, I thought I heard my own name. Say that again, I asked. No one said anything, the specialist replied. The divers went deeper, 50 feet, 60. The lake wasn't supposed to be that deep. Depth reading okay? I asked. The specialist frowned. Could be an error. I'll recalibrate. The numbers froze at 64 feet. Then the voices on the line started talking too fast. I've got a cavity here, one diver said, breath quickening. Looks like an opening in the rock. It's smooth. Too smooth. Hold position, the specialist said. We didn't clear cave diving for this. The signal pulsed again, but this time it didn't stay in the water. My headset, which wasn't connected to the hydrophone, buzzed with the same tones. The boat's radio lit up. Someone on shore called in to say every station on their dial had gone quiet, except for the pattern. Pull them up, I said. The specialist hesitated. We need a visual. The first scream cut him off. It wasn't a pain scream. It was worse. It was surprise tipping into a kind of awe that had nowhere to go. I see lights, one diver gasped. Not lights. Openings. Holes in the dark. The second diver started shouting, words tumbling over each other. It's not a cave. This isn't rock. Then both voices cut to static. Depth, 64 feet. Signal, continuous. Long, low, hungry. Search and rescue teams combed the lake for 2 days. They found nothing. No bodies, no broken lines, no signs of malfunction. The dive lines led downward, then simply ended, as if someone had cut the world off at that point. The official report said equipment failure combined with human error. The radio said otherwise. After that day, the signal didn't just come and go. It persisted, faint but constant, in the background, noise of our frequency. Some days, it was nearly inaudible. Other days, it surged so hard we had to cut broadcast and ride it out. It's like it knows we're listening, the overnight host whispered to me once, like it's adjusting. The more we tried to filter it, the more it adapted. It would shift pitch whenever we tried to cancel it out. It learned our avoidance. On a bad night, you could hear it even through the static of a turned-off radio. Not with your ears, in your teeth. The town started changing. People living near the lake complained of headaches, then dreams. Always the same pattern. They were underwater, but not drowning. They felt pressure, not from the weight of water, but from attention, as if the entire lake were looking at them from all directions. Some dreamed they saw the missing divers down there floating calmly, eyes open, mouths moving in time with the signal. No bodies ever surfaced. The sheriff blamed stress. The mayor suggested we spin it as a mystery, maybe even a tourist thing. I stared at the waveform on my monitor. Those repeating triplets, quintets, humming tails, and thought, this isn't a message for us. It wasn't saying anything to the town. It was using the town. We were an amplifier. I started sleeping at the station. partly out of necessity, partly because my apartment was too close to the water. Late one night, alone in the control room, I tried something I knew I shouldn't. I answered. Using a spare transmitter, I generated a simple response on the same frequency, 3 tones, 5. A long hum matching the signal's main note. Then I added one difference, a small rising pitch at the end, a question mark in sound. The second I hit send, the room felt smaller. The floor seemed to drop a fraction of an inch. The signal cut out. The sudden silence was worse than the noise. I realized I had just done the one thing no one in a horror story should ever do. I had knocked back. For a full minute, nothing happened. Then from the speaker, from the headset, from the metal of the desk itself, the sound came. Not 3 tones, not 5, a cascade. Numbers encoded in sound, far beyond what I recognized. Patterns folding into patterns, dense and precise. It wasn't language, not like ours. It was more like an X-ray of thought. And under it, woven like a thread, were voices, our divers. Speaking syllables my ears heard as gurgles, but my mind translated as here, here, here. I tore the headset off. The sound didn't stop, because it wasn't in the hardware. It was in me. I don't remember falling. I remember pressure, not on my body, on my idea of my body, like something big and patient was pushing against the outline of who I thought I was, testing the edges. It didn't feel malicious. It felt curious. It rifled through my memories the way someone flips through a book at the library. Childhood, first job, first night alone at the station. Times I'd stared at the lake and felt peaceful. It lingered on that last one. Peace, water, reflection. Network, something inside me translated. The present seemed to approve. When I came back to myself, an hour had passed. The signal had returned to its usual pattern. 3 tones, 5, hum. But now, when I looked at the waveform, I saw something else. Gaps, places where it paused, waiting for me. I stopped trying to block it after that. What's the point of closing a door after something's already inside the house? Instead, I started listening differently. Not for words, for intent. I don't think there's a creature under the lake in any way we would recognize. No tentacles, no eyes. I think the lake itself, or what's beneath it, or inside it, is a medium, a lens, a place where something very old and very far learned how to press a shape into our world. Radio waves were just the first handle it found. Minds are the second. It isn't calling us down to devour us. It's calling us down to map us, to add new layers to whatever structure it's been building, tone by tone, thought by thought, across God knows how many worlds. The divers weren't eaten. They were opened. The station still broadcasts. People still listen to their morning shows and traffic reports and high school football games. The signal is quieter now, tucked beneath everything, like a bass note that most ears can't hear. Most. But sometimes, when the night is very still and the lake is a sheet of black glass, and I lean too close to the console, I feel it again. That pressure, testing, that patience, waiting. I get the sense that it's in no hurry. It has time, more than we can imagine. We think of alien contact as something obvious. Ships in the sky, lights in the cornfields. But I think the first real contact we made was accidental. A little station by a lake, a pattern of sound, a curious mind on the other side of the dark. We sent out a signal to see if anyone was listening. Something was. And now, every time a radio turns on in this town, we help it whisper back.